Snow fell in slow, heavy flakes. The city had gone quiet, muffled by winter's breath. Tyler Grant drove through the park road, the headlights cutting across the white ground. He had just left another meeting, another contract signed, another win. That was his life. One success after another. But lately every victory felt hollow. He loosened his tie, exhaled and reached for the radio. Then he saw her. A small figure sat beneath a tree, half buried in snow. At first, he thought it was a lost coat. Then he saw her face. A little girl, no more than 6, holding something tightly in her hands. Tyler hit the brakes. The car slid slightly before stopping. He stepped out, cold air biting his skin, and walked toward her. The girl didn't move. Her cheeks were red from the cold. Her hair tangled, her eyes fixed on the photo in her lap. "Hey," he said softly. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. She just looked up, tears frozen at the corners of her lashes. Tyler knelt in the snow, lowering his voice. "Where's your mom or dad?" The girl's lips trembled. She looked down at the photo again. "It's the only photo of my dad," she whispered. Tyler's chest tightened. He glanced at the picture. A man in a black suit stared back from the old photograph. Something about the face made Tyler's breath catch. He reached out gently. "Can I see that?" The girl hesitated, then nodded. Tyler took the photo, brushing snow off its edges. His eyes widened. It was him, younger, clean-shaven. The same eyes, the same suit, the same photo taken years ago, one he'd never shared. He froze. "Where did you get this?" His voice came out lower than he meant. The girl flinched. "It's my dad," she said again, clutching her small coat. "Mom said he was kind and smart and rich, but she never told me his name." Tyler's hand trembled, his mind spun. That photo was from a private shoot, long before he became a billionaire. No one outside his old circle could have had it. "What's your name?" he asked carefully. "Harper," she whispered. "Harper Lane." The name hit him like ice. Lane. Clara Lane. He hadn't heard that name in years. He looked at the girl again. The same blue eyes. The same dimples. He felt his knees weaken. "Harper. What's your mom's name?" She looked up, confused. "Clara," she said quietly. "Do you know her?" For a second, the world stopped. The falling snow blurred everything except her small face. He did know Clara. He had loved her once. Years ago, before money, before success, before everything changed. Tyler's throat tightened. "Where's your mom now?" Harper's eyes filled again. "She got sick. We don't have a house anymore. We were sleeping at the shelter, but they closed last night. She told me to wait here if she didn't come back." Tyler felt the sting of cold air deep in his lungs. He looked around. No one else in sight. Just darkness and snow. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. "Come on," he said gently. "You can't stay out here. It's freezing." "But Mom said not to go with strangers." He forced a soft smile. "Your mom was right. But I'm not a stranger." He glanced at the photo again, then met her eyes. "I think I'm your dad." Harper stared at him, unsure if she had heard right. The snow fell harder, the wind whispering through the trees. Tyler's heart pounded. He had spent his life building empires. But tonight, in the silence of winter, he had found something that money could never buy, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for the truth that had just found him. Tyler stood in the snow, his breath misting in the cold air. Harper's tiny figure looked lost against the white ground. She shivered beneath his coat, clutching the photo like it was her last piece of home. He crouched lower, meeting her eyes again. "Harper," he said softly, "how long have you been here?" She wiped her nose with her sleeve. "Since last night. Mom said she'd come back after getting medicine, but she didn't." Tyler's pulse quickened. The snow had fallen nonstop since the previous evening. If Clara hadn't returned, something was wrong. He glanced toward the empty road, headlights fading in the distance. Then he looked back at Harper. "You shouldn't stay here any longer. It's too cold. I can't leave," she whispered. "What if she comes back and I'm gone?" Tyler took a deep breath. He remembered that same stubbornness in Clara, quiet but fierce. She'd want you safe, he said. You can wait somewhere warm. He reached out a hand. Harper hesitated, then slipped her small fingers into his. Her skin was ice. He guided her toward his car, opening the back door carefully. Sit here, he said. We'll find your mom. She climbed in, the leather seat too big for her small frame. Tyler turned on the heater, watching her breathe warmth into her hands. For a moment he stood outside the car, snow collecting on his shoulders. He looked up at the gray sky. Clara Lane. The name replayed in his mind like a wound reopening. He hadn't seen her in almost 7 years. Back then, she was the only person who saw him as human, not a rising businessman. They had plans once, but success had pulled him away, and pride had built walls too high to climb. Now her daughter, his daughter, sat inside his car. He got in, closing the door against the cold. Harper looked at him, cautious but curious. You really knew my mom? Yes, he said quietly. A long time ago, her voice dropped. Then you know where she is? Tyler paused. Not yet, but I'll find her. The way she looked at him, like she wanted to believe, tore something open inside him. He started the engine, and the car rolled through the snow-covered streets. They drove in silence. Harper's head turned toward the window, watching the city pass like a dream she couldn't understand. Homeless shelters, dark alleys, and quiet corners told their story without words. Tyler stopped outside a rundown community center. A faded sign read, Hope Haven Shelter. He stepped out, lifting Harper into his arms. Inside, the warmth hit them instantly. A volunteer behind the counter looked up. Sir, we're closed. Power issues since last night. Tyler pulled out his business card. I'll cover whatever cost you need. I just need a place for this child to rest. The man hesitated, then nodded. There's a cot in the back. Tyler led Harper to the corner of the room. He found a blanket, tucking it around her carefully. Her eyes fluttered from exhaustion. Do you think Mom's okay? She murmured. Tyler hesitated before answering. I'll make sure she's okay. She nodded weakly, clutching the photo once more. Within minutes, she was asleep. Tyler sat nearby, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. His reflection stared back faintly in a puddle of melted snow. He saw himself, powerful, admired, untouchable, and for the first time, he hated what he saw. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. Morris, he said when the detective answered. It's Tyler Grant. I need your help. A woman named Clara Lane. She's missing. There was silence. Then the voice on the other end softened. Clara Lane? That name sounds familiar. She used to live near Brookside Apartments, Tyler said. Find her. Tonight. He hung up, glancing at Harper. Her small hand rested near his coat sleeve. Without thinking, he covered it gently with his own. Hours passed. The wind howled outside. At dawn, his phone rang. He stepped away to answer. Did you find her? The detective's tone changed. Tyler, there's been an accident. His grip tightened on the phone. What kind of accident? Car crash on the East Bridge last night. The woman's ID says Clara Lane. The sound in Tyler's ears faded. The world seemed to collapse into the quiet hum of the shelter lights. No, he said under his breath. She can't be. I'm sorry, the voice replied. She didn't make it. Tyler closed his eyes, his hand covering his mouth. Memories of Clara flooded back, the way she laughed, the way she believed in him before he believed in himself. He turned toward Harper. She was still asleep, her face peaceful, unaware that her world had just shattered. He sat beside her again, eyes burning, unable to speak. When she woke, she smiled faintly. Did you find Mom? Tyler's throat closed. He forced his voice steady. Not yet, she's resting for a while, Harper nodded, trusting him completely. She leaned against him, small and fragile, her faith cutting deeper than truth ever could. Tyler looked out the window as snow began to fall again. He knew he would have to tell her someday, but not now. Not while she still believed her mother might walk through that door. He wrapped his arm around her, silent, feeling the weight of both their losses settle like snow around them. And for the first time in his life, Tyler Grant didn't feel like a billionaire. He felt like a man who had found everything too late. The morning light filtered through the cracked windows of the shelter. Harper sat on the cot, still wrapped in Tyler's coat. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen from sleep. But when she saw him return with a cup of hot chocolate, she smiled. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, watching her blow on the steam before taking a sip. Her innocence hurt to look at. She didn't know that her mother's voice would never call her name again. Tyler forced himself to stay calm. He couldn't tell her. Not yet. She needed warmth, food, safety. Truth could wait until her world wasn't frozen. When she finished the drink, he crouched beside her. "Harper, do you have any family we can call? Maybe someone your mom trusted?" She shook her head. "Mom said it was just us. She said people stopped talking to her after Dad left." He felt that word slice through him. After Dad left, he had walked away from Clara without looking back, believing she'd move on. He hadn't known she'd been raising his daughter alone. Tyler rose, rubbing the back of his neck. "We'll figure something out." Outside, the city woke slowly under layers of snow. He made some calls, arranged a doctor to check Harper for frostbite, and bought her warm clothes from a nearby store. When he returned, she was sketching on a scrap of paper with a dull pencil. He leaned closer. "What's that?" She held up the paper shyly. "It's my mom and me, but I don't know how to draw Dad yet." Tyler's heart stung. "You'll learn," he said softly. By afternoon, he had no choice but to take her with him. The shelter's heating was down again, and the staff couldn't promise safety overnight. He signed the papers, bundled Harper into his car, and drove toward his mansion on the hill. She stared out the window as buildings turned into long stretches of white trees and winding roads. "This is where you live?" she asked, her voice small. "Yes," he said. "For now, it's your home too." When they arrived, the gates opened automatically, the black iron glinting against the snow. The mansion loomed large and silent. Harper stepped out, clutching her backpack. "It's so big," she whispered. Tyler smiled faintly. "You'll get used to it." Inside, warmth and light wrapped around them. The marble floors reflected the glow of chandeliers. Every corner smelled of polish and stillness. Harper's eyes wandered across portraits on the walls, shelves lined with trophies and the grand piano that hadn't been played in years. "Do you live here alone?" she asked. "Yes." "Don't you get lonely?" He paused. "I used to think I didn't." She looked up at him, thoughtful. "Mom said people who say that are usually the loneliest." He exhaled quietly. "Your mom was a smart woman." Later, he showed her a guest room near the main hallway. He found one of his mother's old quilts and tucked it around her. She looked tiny against the big bed. Before turning off the light, she asked, "Do you think Mom will come soon?" Tyler froze. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Maybe not soon, but she'd want you to rest." She nodded. "If you see her, tell her I wasn't scared." "I will." He waited until her breathing softened, then closed the door. Downstairs, he poured himself a glass of water and sat by the fire. The silence of the mansion pressed on him, heavier than ever. The same rooms that once symbolized success now felt like empty chambers of regret. He picked up his phone, staring at the detective's last message. The coroner had confirmed it. Clara Lane was gone. No doubts left. Tyler's hands trembled as he scrolled through old photos. He had none of Clara. He had erased her after they parted, telling himself it was the only way to move forward. Now he'd give anything for one photo of her smiling. He glanced at the photo Harper had carried. His own face stared back, younger and unguarded. How strange that the only proof of his fatherhood had come from a memory he didn't even remember giving. Upstairs, Harper cried softly in her sleep. He heard it faintly through the walls. He went to her room, quietly sitting at the edge of the bed. Her small fingers clutched the blanket. "Mom," she whispered. Tyler brushed a strand of hair from her face. "It's okay," he murmured. "You're safe now." When morning came, she woke to sunlight filling the room. Tyler was already up, dressed, and making pancakes in the kitchen. The smell spread through the halls. She patted in, rubbing her eyes. "You cook?" he smiled. I try, she giggled, climbing onto a stool. Mom said Dad couldn't even make toast. Your mom wasn't wrong, he said. Flipping the pancake badly, she laughed harder. The first real sound of joy he had heard from her. In that moment, something shifted inside him. The mansion didn't feel so empty anymore. After breakfast, she followed him around, asking endless questions about his office, his car, the view from the balcony. He answered patiently, half amused, half amazed. Then she found a framed award on his desk and pointed. Is this why you were too busy to be with Mom? Tyler froze. He didn't know how to explain ambition to a child who'd only known survival. He crouched down to her level. When I was younger, I thought being busy made me important. I was wrong. She looked at him for a long moment. Mom said money can buy things, but not time. He swallowed. She was right again. For the rest of the day, Harper drew pictures around the house of trees, the piano, pancakes, and a man standing beside a little girl in the snow. She handed him one before bed. I drew us, she said. Tyler took it, his eyes wet. It's perfect, she smiled. Maybe tomorrow we can visit Mom. She'll be happy to see you. He nodded slowly. Yes, Harper, tomorrow. When she slept, he stepped outside to the balcony. Snow fell quietly across the fields, turning the world white again. He looked at the night sky, whispering a promise to the wind. I'll take care of her. Clara, I swear it. For a long time he stood there, feeling both peace and pain wash over him in equal measure. Inside, Harper stirred and mumbled something in her dreams, soft words that reached him even through the cold. Daddy. It was the first time she had said it aloud, and Tyler Grant, the man the world called untouchable, finally broke down under the weight of what that single word meant. Section 4. When the snow finally stopped, 850 words. Winter sunlight poured through the tall windows, soft and golden against the white curtains. For the first time in years, Tyler's mansion didn't feel like stone and silence. It felt alive. Downstairs, the smell of pancakes drifted through the hallways, mixed with laughter, light, innocent, healing laughter. Harper sat at the table, swinging her legs, trying to pour syrup without spilling it. Tyler watched her, smiling. He hadn't smiled like this in years, not the kind for cameras or deals, but the quiet kind that made him feel human again. You put too much syrup, he teased. She grinned. That's how Mom did it. His chest tightened, but he nodded. Then we'll keep doing it that way. They ate together, sunlight touching both of their faces. The air felt warmer than any fire he'd ever lit. After breakfast, Harper followed him to the study where the fireplace crackled softly. She climbed onto the couch holding a drawing pad. Can I make something for Mom? He nodded. Of course. She began sketching with slow, careful strokes. Tyler sat nearby, pretending to read, but his eyes kept drifting to her face. Every expression, every sigh, every small smile reminded him of Clara. When she finished, she held up the paper. It showed 3 figures holding hands in front of a house. Above them, she'd written in big, uneven letters, Me, Mom, and Dad. Tyler's throat ached. That's beautiful, Harper. She smiled proudly. We should take it to her. She'll want to see it. He froze. He had been waiting for this moment, dreading it, knowing it would come. He couldn't lie anymore. He knelt beside her. Harper, he said softly, there's something I need to tell you about your mom. Her eyes lifted slowly, unsure. What about her? Tyler's voice wavered. She's not coming back. There was an accident that night. She didn't make it. The pencil fell from Harper's hand. She stared at him, her lips parting as if she didn't understand the words. No, she whispered. She promised she'd come back. Tears filled her eyes. You said we'd find her. He reached out, but she pulled away, sobbing. You lied. Tyler's heart cracked open. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, his voice trembling. I just needed to keep you safe first. Harper shook her head. I want my mom. He sat on the floor beside her, helpless, watching her grief spill like the snow outside. I miss her too, he said quietly. More than you'll ever know. For a long time, she cried until her small body gave up. Then she leaned into him. Weak and broken, he held her, saying nothing, because there was nothing to say. Later that day, he took her to the cemetery. The ground was blanketed in snow, the air still in gray. A simple white stone marked Clara's name. Harper stood there, holding the drawing she had made. She set it down in front of the grave. "Here, Mom," she whispered. "I drew us together." Tyler placed his hand on her shoulder. "She'd be proud of you." Harper looked up. "Do you think she can see us?" He nodded. "I know she can." Snowflakes fell softly over them, quiet as prayer. Harper reached for his hand and he closed his fingers around hers. Neither spoke. The silence between them said everything. When they returned home, Harper went straight to her room and crawled under the blanket. Tyler stood in the doorway watching her. "Do you want me to stay?" he asked. She nodded faintly. "Just until I fall asleep." He sat on the edge of her bed. Her breathing slowed, her hand resting near his. For the first time since Clara's death, Tyler felt peace. Not the kind that erases pain, but the kind that grows after truth is spoken. That night, he walked through the halls of his mansion and stopped at his old office mirror. The reflection looked tired but real. For once, he saw a man who had something worth living for. Days turned into weeks. Harper started school nearby, shy at first but quick to smile. Every evening she'd run into his office, showing him drawings from her day, new friends, snowmen, and always one small figure that looked like him. One evening she ran to him holding a card. "It's for you." He took it, reading the uneven letters. "Thank you for finding me, Dad." He blinked hard, his throat tight. "You don't have to thank me," she smiled. "Mom said when people do something kind, you always say thank you." He smiled back. "Then you're welcome, Harper." They spent that night building a small snowman in the garden. She made it wear his scarf, laughing when he protested. The house glowed behind them, golden against the white night. When they went back inside, Harper yawned, curling up on the couch. Tyler sat beside her, pulling the blanket higher. She looked up at him, sleeping.